The Australian Grand Prix, more like dashing cars, Red Flag Fiesta, 20 of the best drivers in the world crashing left, right, and center. 12 drivers finished the race, and Ferrari still went home with 0 points.
No, please, Ashley, please.
But let's talk about the restart first. 2 laps to go. Everyone's on cold, soft tires, high on adrenaline. They want to make as many places as possible. Max and Lewis get along well, no issues there. Alonso was doing fine, but then Carlos decides, I want to start a Spanish revolution. Hits Alonso in the back. Alonso goes behind. Meanwhile, Gasly gets inspired by all of this. He decides to come back on track and start a French revolution. And on the back, Logan Sargent forgets that he has brakes in his car. Sainz gets a 5-second penalty. He's completely destroyed by that. And because the race ended with a rolling start behind the safety car, he fell down multiple places and he was out of the points. Who's responsible for all of this chaos? This guy's presence in the F1 paddock. But let's talk about this penalty. I think the penalty was fair, but considering the situation, it was very, very harsh. A couple of months back, something similar happened with Russell and Sainz. Sainz's race was ruined. Russell got a 5-second penalty and Sainz thought 5 seconds was very less. Cut to now, he did a similar thing to Alonso. If it wasn't for the second red flag, Alonso's race was completely ruined. So I do agree with the 5-second penalty. And penalty is always based on the action and not on the consequence. So the 5 seconds penalty was correct, but later on there was a red flag and that meant that Carlos fell a couple of places. That's just bad luck. But then why didn't Stroll get a penalty? Because there was a very similar incident at lap 1. So look at the incident properly. It was not Stroll's fault. Charles also turned in early and Stroll had nowhere to go. There was Alonso on one side and Charles on one side. Even Leclerc after the race said that it was a racing incident. So yeah, there was no fault of Stroll. It was a racing incident. But still a lot of people were confused as to why the penalty was still there for Carlos, because the lap was voided. Well, the lap was not voided. Let me explain how red flags work. So if you have to restart a race after the red flag, you see the last completed sector and all the positions of the drivers are set accordingly. Now in this case, all of the drivers didn't complete the first sector. I mean, within the first couple of turns, there were so many incidences. Nobody crossed sector 1 and because of this, they had to start with the original places. So the lap was not voided. Pay attention. They started on lap 57, but then after the restart, after the final red flag, they started on lap 58 as a rolling start behind the safety car. So the lap was still there. It's just that the positions didn't make sense because no sector was covered. And because of that, DNFs were also considered. The penalties were also considered. So it is done by rule. Something similar was done in Silverstone 2022. So no rules were broken. It's not like Daddy Stroll is paying the FIA so that Aston Martin benefits. It's not like that. But I will agree though that the red flag after K-Max incident was a little bit too late. They put out a safety car first and then they decided no, this needs a red flag, and then it was too late to restart the race again. This chaos was going to happen. So this is what happens when you try to expect entertainment out of F1. But hey, at least this time they followed all of the rules and didn't invent any new rules. Ideally, I feel the race could have just ended under the safety car, and also a lot of people were confused as to why we had a rolling start on lap 58. It's very simple. After every red flag, you do one lap behind the safety car, and because there was only one lap remaining, that's why we didn't get any other racing lap. Let's talk about the drivers now, and Yuki actually did an amazing job. He was actually P5 after the last red flag. If they wouldn't have rolled back the positions, that would have been his race result, and that was amazing. But he managed a P10. Very good after doing P11 for the last 2 races, and he's outperforming Nick De Vries by a big margin. I hope Nick steps up because otherwise I don't see him being in that AlphaTauri for the next year. Nico Hülkenberg, we almost got a podium. I mean, he's so unlucky, man. It's like the Matrix is conspiring against a Hülkenberg podium, Ferrari championship and an RCB title. But hey, I guess now people have stopped doubting why Haas replaced Mick Schumacher with him. At least he's not crashing the car. K-Max doing all the crashing. I don't know where that one came from. And the last thing that team needs is a lot of crashes. A debris from K-Max car actually went and hit a guy on the elbow or something like that. I saw an image online that looked quite painful, and I hope that he's okay. But talking about Nico Hülkenberg reminds me of Nico Rosberg, who beat Lewis Hamilton in the same machinery, who himself beat Fernando Alonso in the same machinery, and 16 years later, these guys are still fighting for positions and for podiums. These people were literally playing chess at 300 kilometers an hour. So I'll explain what Alonso was doing. So Alonso was trying to get close to Hamilton every now and then, around 1 second. He wouldn't get within 1 second because then the dirty air from Lewis's car will start affecting his car, but he used to be around 1 to 1.5 seconds of distance, and he was trying to make Hamilton push. So if Hamilton sees Alonso very close, he will start pushing and he will start using up his tires. So eventually Alonso was planning to force Hamilton to use a lot of his tires so that he can then attack and overtake him with DRS. But that's not what Hamilton did. Hamilton's engineer on radio told him that Alonso is trying to trick him, so then don't fall for it. And Hamilton perfectly kept that fine balance between pushing and creating a gap between Alonso while saving his tires. So that was a battle that I really liked watching. If we didn't get any yellow flags or red flags, that would have gone till the end and it would have gotten more interesting. But Lewis Hamilton drove a really good race, and I'm actually more impressed by George Russell. Sadly, because of that reliability problem, he DNF'd and couldn't finish the race. But see his reaction time at the start of the race. It was 0.19 seconds, one of the fastest reaction times, and that was so good. Grabbed the lead of the race. He was in P1, Lewis was in P2. It was going great for both of them. He got a little bit screwed by strategy because when the first yellow flag came, they pitted Russell. Naturally, they would do that. But then later on, there was a red flag. So whatever did he gain from it, he lost and Lewis was at an advantage. Are they challenging Red Bull now? I don't think so. I mean, you saw that clip. Max Verstappen breezed past Hamilton with DRS and then he was a mile away. So clearly, Mercedes was better. It was more track specific. They've not done any major upgrades to the car as of now. You will see more upgrades in the future now, especially when Toto and Russell have taken a nice look at the Red Bull. You'll get new updates later on. You gotta wait for the upgrades. Aston's had a very good weekend. Alonso drove really well. Stroll also got into P4. He did a horrible mistake at the red flag restart, but the positions were rolled back, so he was saved. And yeah, 3 races, 3 P3s for Alonso, 3 podiums, and there will be many more in this season if Aston tries to keep this pace up. And Alpine almost had one of the best weekends turned into one of the worst weekends this season. Gasly was doing such a great job. They were battling Ferraris. Now, I don't know if that's a compliment to Alpine or how bad Ferrari has gotten, but seriously, he was having a good race. He was challenging Carlos as well, but that one mistake, such a rookie mistake. He rejoined the track in a very unsafe manner. I don't know what was he thinking, and he ruined his race as well as his teammates' race. Now, there's going to be a big bill of repairs for no reason. He was the driver of the day for me, honestly, but sadly he ruined everything and completely messed up his own performance. He was almost going to get a race ban as well. He has 10 penalty points. If you get 12, you are out of the race, but thankfully he didn't get any penalty points for this thing. And talking about driver of the day, Perez had a good recovery drive. Sadly, the quali didn't go that well for him. P20. He came to P5. That was a good job. Verstappen also did a really nice race. No faults there. Maintained a proper lead. Even after multiple restarts and safety cars, he was calm and cool. I don't know what happened to him at the start because he lost 2 positions. But if it ends well, it ends well. Which you can't say about Alex Albon because he was having a good race. I think he could have finished in the points once again. But he did a mistake, costly mistake, DNF'd. Couldn't get into points. Logan Sargent as well did a very bad mistake at the red flag restart. I don't know why he hasn't gotten a penalty for this. He should have gotten a grid penalty. I know that they were running out of points and it didn't matter, but the rules should be the same for everyone. Logan Sargent should have gotten a penalty for this, and that's what actually Ferrari's challenging because they are like, Carlos got a penalty, other people didn't, Gasly didn't get, Logan didn't get a penalty for doing all of these offenses. So why is FIA so inconsistent? We are going to get a hearing about this in Baku. So maybe they might retract Carlos's penalty. I don't think so they would. But yeah, FIA needs to be more consistent and Logan should have gotten a grid penalty as well because he clearly ruined Nick's race. Both McLarens got into points. Lando and Piastri, they were driving really well, but that car is so horrible. Every time I saw them on camera, I was like, these guys need a better car because Piastri is also performing so well. Norris, we all know, is a great driver. Can't wait for the McLaren upgrades in Baku so that the car becomes more drivable and these guys can at least safely get into points. And I think all of us forgot about Alfa Romeo because they were barely seen on the camera. Bottas didn't have a good race. He tried to be on good strategies, but the yellow flags and red flags ruined his race. And Zhou actually made it into points, so that is a good thing for him. But Alfa, I don't know. We almost forgot about them during the race. But that basically was your 2023 Australian Grand Prix. Let me know your favorite moments or something that you noticed in the race in the comments. We don't have any races anytime soon. Now we have the Baku race, which is miles away. But in the meantime, I'll start producing some or the other content here. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it twice. Stay safe, and I'm going to be back in your notifications very, very soon.